and welcome to another jungle tutorial. My name is Virkayu and today we are looking at the carry potential and nightmares you can induce using reworked Evelynn. She seems to have been bordering on the lower side of the jungler win rates, relatively at around 48% platinum and above, but after putting in the time and experience, you will see how strong she can be. She is powerful on the right hands and should be very viable as an assassin pick in the jungle, but as with every assassin, gaining that lead, especially if you're using something like Eyeball Collection from the new runes, is imperative. I will have on my screen some new Season 8 rune pages I think will work well with Evelynn, specifically the one that is showing up now. We will be using the Electrocute Keystone from the Domination tree, followed by Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. And for the secondary tree, we are using the Ultimate Hat and Gathering Storm from Sorcery. The reason for Sudden Impact is obvious. You get that burst of magic penetration from leaving Camouflage or from using a leap, which your E does, of course, if you are in Camouflage. Eyeball Collection, which is essentially a souped up bounty hunter where the more kills you get, the more damage you do. Relentless Hunter is really nice as the more takedowns you get more permanent out of combat movement speed, which is really great later game when you're trying to hit your W and your full combo. For the Sorcery tree, Ultimate Hat is the best choice for Evelynn because of the high nature cooldown of her ult at level 6 and level 11. Having that up as much as possible, as soon as possible, is really beneficial to your ability to hard carry a game by executing the maximum damage you can possibly do. Gathering Storm is one I like, especially when you're lower elo where games would tend to go longer and people would tend to be out of position a bit more. That passive gain of AP is really useful. You can also look at another option in Sorcery, you know, gaining more movement speed and things like that if you're higher elo or if you want to try something else. But this is what I will be running first and foremost once the patch hits, and I think we'll carry over the same playstyle completely that we have now, but with the added benefit of that cooldown from your ultimate. If you're interested in runes and updates on other champions in the jungle, I will be posting more videos on that in the coming weeks as we explore the possibilities with things like Warwick and Rengar and Kha'Zix and Kayn and so on, so please subscribe if that's something you're interested in. The rest of this video will serve you well regardless of your rune choices and goes into depth with how you can truly succeed with reworked Evelynn. You have to play her in a unique way with emphasis on positioning and warn coverage, as well as in and out fighting, timing the CDR of your spells and so on. Games, especially in lower MMRs, will be somewhat chaotic where at some point people will be split from their team over push, chase, and generally not be paying attention to the minimap. And this is where, as Evelynn, you can truly carry your team by making the game almost a permanent 4v5 or 3v5 if you're fed and hit a full combo. Getting used to engaging on a target with your W charm and following this up with either a Q, E, or auto attack to spring their hearts to see is imperative to how you play around the champion. Before we dive into abilities, maxing order combos and items, let's just look at some clear options. First and foremost, if you can get a smiteless leash, please do so. Ask your team if they will oblige. This will allow you to save smite for the second camp, the major camp, and you should be 100% HP. If I am blue side, I usually will do red, raptors, followed by blue. Make sure you are kiting the camps, especially at raptors, just like with Kayn, so you can heal up with the talisman and be ready for your blue buff whether you have smite or not. Hitting your Qs on the camps to get the reduced cooldown is imperative to your clears, so make sure your aim is on point if you're using Smartcast. If I'm on the purple side, I'll go from red to wolves and then look to do red if I still have smite, or I'll do raptors, get to full HP, and then do red. Choose which the game dictates, and as always, please be adaptable when it comes to playing versus Shakos, Nunus, and Ivans. Make sure you are thinking dynamically and pay attention to where these heavy counter junglers start their camps. After these standard clears, I'll look to do Scuttle Crab and gank and make use of Evelynn's strong CC, but we'll talk about that and ganking once we have a good understanding of her abilities. Let's start with her ult. Her ult is a great execute, disengage tool, and gap closer, although I rarely use it as the latter as I find it way too crucial to use in teamfights or in actual situations where you want the damage. Or if you're in a teamfight and you really want to get in and get out as quickly as possible before you're CC'd and annihilated. When using your ult, be wary of the execute symbol that will show up on targets that should die from your ult, barring any annoying Janna shields or summoner spell usage that can mitigate the damage. However, if you are far ahead and have a power spike in terms of your items and scaling and so on, your ult is something that can shred the enemy team, like this example where I kill the Lux and the Tristana despite the Lulu ult and Lux shields. Even when you're down in levels, hitting a full combo even on other assassins can have you winning crucial 1v1 battles because of this ult. For the rest of her abilities, I max R obviously, followed by Q, W, and then E. But the scaling on W is definitely strong with increased CDR, magic resistance shred, range, and damage. There are playstyles centered around maxing W followed by Q, putting 3 points in W followed by maxing Q, and so on. I have tried all of these and still prefer maxing Q for pure DPS, as well as faster clear speeds in the jungle. You can see here that I also managed to secure a double kill because I maxed Q. The W is absolutely core to your success insofar as you understand how it works. It exists over the course of 5 seconds, but it's fully charged after only 2.5 seconds. This gives you another 2.5 second window to hit a spell or auto attack to activate the full hard CC. This is how you can make up for mistakes or bait an enemy who have no idea about this. You see here on the Jace, I miss my Q and he thinks he's safe from the hard charm. He's not. The fact that my hate spikes connect to him fully charms him because the 5 seconds hadn't yet expired. Moving to your E, this does percentage max HP damage and it scales based upon your AP. It's empowered when you're in Demon Shade, which is your passive, and it's crucial when you have camo, as it features a small dash when you are in camouflage. And yes, like Maokai W or Warwick Q, you will follow someone like I do with Darius here, albeit much harder to do given the small range of attachment. An all-in 1v1 will usually involve activating the W, flashing or hexteching to get your E off, Q followed by hitting your 3 Q hate spikes, and then ulting out before they have time to react. You can weave in autos in there where you have time if you do. Sometimes you don't want to use your W so as to give away your position though. So if you suddenly run into someone, simply using E, Q, auto attacks and then ulting is enough to do crucial, if not fatal damage. Versus someone like Ezreal who can be a nightmare to hit a Q on or to get into range for your E, it's more imperative to have that element of surprise, and so using W as a chase down if he gets away is better than using it up front and giving him the ability to flash or arcane shift over a wall where you can't reach him. Remember that regarding your passive, stealth isn't activated pre-6 anymore. I've actually had a few people rage at me because I'm not coming to gank their lane walking through a known ward. They think I can just do that as I'm camouflage. You are not camo pre-6, but you still have access to the Demon Shade passive that allows you to regenerate some health based upon the amount of AP you have. So just keep this in mind that later on in the game you go, once you hit your camo and you get more AP, you actually regenerate health quite nicely. So even if you're low after a fight, you can still hang around and regenerate enough that you can go back in. Now naturally, as we already mentioned, W is vital to your usual engages, and it changes when you're camouflage versus non-camouflage, so pre-6 and 6. Your usual combos, as I mentioned, of hitting your W, letting it fully charge, and then following up with Qs, Es, auto attacks, and so on to get the full burst. But it is of course much easier to hit when you are camouflaged and you can move around the target without them seeing them. However, a fully charged W and a throwing Q can very easily burn flashes, and if you come remotely fed, people will flash very quickly and very often even at the sight of a fully charged W, even if they don't even see you or think you will hit it. And finally, a little remark on your camouflage. Remember, you can always cheese opponents who are very lazy with their backs or overconfident and don't think you're gonna come. Make sure that you pay attention to the minimap, you pay attention to wards that you have on the map, and if you see someone going back, time your approach and just execute them before they leave. Most people will start to shop and not even pay attention, so it's free kills for you. It also tilts them completely. It's also really fun. Now let's move along to items. As you see from stat sites, itemization is a bit diverse, but as E procs on hit effects, the Jhin and Lichbane, coupled with the AP, mana, and movement speed, makes it a core item. However, I have played a lot of games with a Hextech Rush followed by Liandry's, and this still gives you a strong burst with an added gap closer, which is crucial on Evelynn in terms of hitting your charms later on or collapsing fast onto people that are trying to go back. So I do recommend trying both Lichbane and Hextech Rush, followed by Liandry's, and of course don't forget to adapt to the game in terms of the order of items that you buy should you need an important Zhonya's, maybe a Void stuff for a tanky team, or if you are super fed, a Death Cap to truly ascend. With that said though, it's worth noting that I almost exclusively rush Lichbane at the moment, unless I'm very far behind, as the burst combo with hitting an E from stealth, followed with your W burst, your Q follow up and your ult is just so powerful given the on-hit effects. It really makes for a great one-shot combo. Let's move on now to ganking. It's absolutely vital that you have an even or strong early game as Evelynn, and that it's largely in your control. It's harder to get going with her given that you're not camouflage pre-6 anymore, and getting ahead is really crucial for her combos. Don't face tech brushes against things like Rengar, be smart about your pathing, and always look to flank from behind or at angles that allow your W to fully charge so you can hit that full stun, or at the very least, force a flash, which should be easy given the threat of that CC and burst with it. You also need to be acutely aware of wards in general, but specifically control wards, because nothing makes people control ward more than when you're post-6 Evelynn in camo. And yes, when Evelynn is against you, your team will conveniently forget to buy any control wards whatsoever. Look to abuse flashes that you have burned and attempt multiple ganks while weaving in farm. Your clear speed is pretty good and only gets faster with your Q max and some early items. Once you have access to your ultimate, you have the ability to maneuver around the map with ease and speed as you are now camouflaged. Keep an eye on the enemy jungle as usual, make sure you're tracking his movements and always look to apply counter ganks where you can. Evelynn is extremely successful at those, as well as at lane ganks, and also again at remaining in lane after again because of the camo. Oftentimes people will expect you to have left if they spotted you on a pink ward or you already ganked, but you can always ease up through the lane and hover around. And remember that Evelynn works best with chain CC, especially if you have someone in lane that can hit hard CC while you let your charm charge up, and then you can chain it together for a very easily kill. This is important in any gank or lane with any champions, but especially so with Evelynn given the nature of her secured burst. When it comes to mid and late game, Evelynn excels at tower dives and picking off crucial opponents, as solo queue won't have the immense vision control you see at the pro or high elo level. The key here is to make sure that after you make big picks that you and your team are focusing on taking objectives afterwards. Team fighting, however, requires a much more nuanced approach with the reworked Evelynn, as you can't go in and hit a 5-man stun and get a huge shield. Ideally, you aren't having a standard 5v5 where everyone's kind of sitting around CCing each other and no one's really doing anything. If you do have to be the one to engage, however, having something like a Lulu is great as it can allow you to survive longer and then get out and hopefully execute someone. However, if the enemy team has things like Braum, Janna, Shen, and Muvu, you know, really annoying hard CC stuff like that, you really cannot be the one going in first or engaging. You will be CC'd and bursted very quickly. You have to look to be flanking, look to pick people off after the team has already engaged and gotten some damage down, and you have to look to see where you can take out a priority target or hit a nice stun to catch someone out before a team fight. If you have a fed GP, for example, and you're also fed, let him hit a crucial crit ult and then you can go to work. The enemy team will have to deal with you, and your team can assist you to clean up. For example, in this fight that you're seeing now is actually a 3v5. We have 2 team members dead, but we managed to completely win the fight just because of both combinations of our ults and burst. Just be aware of what each game needs in terms of your team fighting, and this certainly was where it can be harder to carry as Evelynn, so always look for that pick before the fight or flank the enemy and eliminate a target, and do as much damage as you can before pulling out using your ult or a flash, Zhonya's, and so on. After this, you can enter back into your Demon Shade with your camouflage, regenerate using your passive, and then use your W to chase down any stragglers, or at the very least take out another crucial target if your team does lose a team fight, so you can mitigate any losses against you. You can single-handedly force your team back into the game through smart positioning, team fights, and because of your burst, devastating Baron steals where you also kill people. Be sure to keep your combos in mind, your positioning in mind, and be very careful about the vision that your team and the enemy team has. And you should see great success with Evelynn as you gain more experience in using her to her maximum potential if you pay attention to these things every game. I hope this video could help you learn more about the reworked Evelynn, as well as the runes she will use in the upcoming season, as well as how to use her strong skirmishing ability and camouflage, as well as absolute insane burst damage and assassin skills to gain yourself some wins in this offseason and prepare yourself for the start of Season 8. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you would like more jungle tutorials, charm the like button if you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.